how's it going? My name is Kyle and welcome to Stop Kyle 04. For today's video, AMG has graciously brought me out to California today to Thermal Raceway to get an up-close and personal sneak peek at the all-new 2016 Mercedes-AMG GT S. So this is going to be a detailed, in-depth review of the GT S. We'll start it up, show the engine, demo the dual-mode performance exhaust, and go over the performance data, take it on a thorough drive around the track, and show you many of the unique aspects of both the interior as well as exterior. And so, without further ado, let's go ahead and start her up, let her run. This GTS is finished in gloss red affixed with the aggressive aero kit, a part of the unique Edition 1 package. Inside there are many ways to outfit the interior, but this one features a combination of premium Nappa leather and Dynamica microfiber inserts, trimmed with red stitching, striping on the seats and red seat belts, not to mention high gloss carbon fiber and aluminum accents. An important note I'd like to point out is that these cars featured in this video are Euro-spec pre-production testers that could contain elements that won't transfer to US models. This includes but is not limited to possible color and equipment combinations on standard cars and the Edition 1, as AMG explores various options and manufacturing techniques before deliveries begin around the second quarter of 2015. To start, all you have to do is just depress the brake pedal and hit the red illuminated button in the center console to go. Another interesting tidbit, there's actually an ignition cylinder within the center console that you can manually start if desired. Standard equipment on the GTS is an AMG performance exhaust system featuring two integrated variable bypass valves to either side of the rear silencer, which open and close depending on driving mode and engine speed. When closed, the exhaust gases travel a longer distance through the rear silencer. As they open, a greater proportion of the gases begin to bypass the silencer, unleashing that raw AMG sound. In controlled efficiency, the valves remain closed, but with increased speeds and throttle input, they gradually open to allow more sound without being overly loud, as some gases are still able to travel through the silencer. In the sportier settings, especially Sport Plus and Race Mode, the valves are fully open for a far more menacing sound that really needs to be experienced in person to truly appreciate. It's not as raspy of a sound as the 6.2 liter in the SLS, but it's without a doubt still impressive, especially for a turbocharged engine. It's an AMG product after all, and we wouldn't expect anything less. The bypass valves can be manually opened by a button in the center console, otherwise they're tied with the built-in driving modes. Listen closely for the sound change as the valves switch open, and we'll give a quick sound comparison. Both the GT and GTS feature hydraulic rack and pinion steering with direct steer variable ratios, designed to provide light effort at low speeds while stiffening up at higher speeds to provide enhanced directional stability and precision. Further precision is dialed in via the various dynamic select driving modes. It's all routed through a sporty AMG 3-spoke flat-bottom steering wheel. The bespoke wheel features grip bolsters up top and down below with optional grippy Alcantara trim and red accent stitching. The small band of leather at the top is a pretty neat touch. The spokes are finished in aluminum, with the bottom split spoke design highlighted by the unique Edition 1 tag. The steering delivers a wonderful amount of feedback. You feel connected to the road and always in tune with the position and direction of the front wheels. Wherever you rotate the wheel, the car follows suit with immediacy and precision. It even feels more agile than the SLS I drove some time ago, which I'm sure is largely due to its lighter curb weight and revised components. Kicking the tail out in the corners while in sport handling is not only fun, but easily modulated by the throttle and steering. All in all, the GTS is a blast to drive. It instills that kind of confidence that makes you want to push it harder and faster with each lap. It feels like a true driver's car. The stylistic focus point of the interior is by far the center console, whereas the middle portion is cut out to look similar to an NACA air duct. The buttons, on the other hand, are inspired by a V8 configuration. The left-hand side houses your driving dynamics controller, push-button start, traction control, and adaptive dampers, radio volume and power, manual gear selection, auto start-stop, and the dual-mode exhaust. As far as the gearbox, the GTS features a rear-mounted 7-speed dual-clutch AMG speed shift transaxle. Essentially a revised version of the same unit in the SLS Black Series, the new DCT benefits from wider ratio spreads, faster shifting, and improved overall economy. Like other AMG products, it too is routed through a small aluminum electronic gear selector in the center console, activated simply by putting your foot on the brake and tipping it back for drive. Half a click up is neutral, while hitting the brake once more and tipping it all the way forward engages reverse. Park is activated via the small P button just ahead of the selector. It sends all of that power to the rear wheels through an 8-pound carbon fiber drive shaft and electronic locking limited slip differential. Linking the gearbox and engine together is an aluminum torque tube which works to mitigate energy loss due to the rotational torque of both the engine and gearbox. By linking them, one can't move without the other. Balancing the system creates a more efficient power delivery system. The standard GT model will feature a mechanical limited slip differential. By selecting the manual mode, you're able to have full control of the gear changes via the fantastic feeling aluminum paddles behind the steering wheel. Especially in race mode, gear changes are lightning quick yet extremely smooth. The AMG Dynamic Select controller on the GTS includes 4 different modes: Controlled Efficiency, Sport, Sport Plus, and Race. With each advancing setting, the car adapts the steering, throttle response, exhaust, suspension, and traction control to vastly alter the driving profile, giving each mode a distinct feel and turning the GTS from a relatively comfortable sports car to an all-out track monster. A part of the AMG Dynamic Plus package equipped on these testers, you receive active engine and transmission mounts, in addition to a stiffer suspension tune and more negative camber up front for more contact through the corners. An electronically adaptive suspension with 3 modes, Comfort, Sport, and Sport Plus, works in perfect unison with these systems to maintain precision and agility through the corners and comfort when desired. That's standard equipment on the GTS. Controlled Efficiency is the tamest setting programmed for comfort and fuel economy, while activating the standard auto start-stop feature. Sport and Sport Plus are pre-programmed to alter the aforementioned parameters such as decreasing shift times, raising shift points, and allowing for rev matching downshifts in automatic mode. You'll even notice engine speed pick up a bit. The stability control intervenes less, allowing you to explore the handling closer to the limit before the car intervenes to keep you on course. Selecting Race Mode puts everything into their most aggressive settings, adapting the transmission and engine for specific track use. There are 3 settings for the stability control, including On, ESP Sport Handling, automatically activated in race mode, and ESP Off. Of course, all of these settings can be customized in great detail within the new individual setting, allowing drivers to custom tailor all of the vehicle's adaptive features to truly match their driving style.
And so, we're going to flip on the automatic LED adaptive headlamps, rear fog lamps, and the hazards. Naturally, both windows are fully automatic, and we'll go ahead and check out the exterior.
Hot on the heels of the recently discontinued SLS-AMG, the all-new GT S debuting for the 2016 model year is the second car designed and built in-house by AMG. Looking back at the successes of the SLS between the iconic retro-futuristic styling and performance, you begin to understand why the GT S has some pretty big shoes to fill. Even though it was never designed to replace the SLS, as each car clearly has a different mission and obvious price point, looking at the proportions and design elements, there's plenty of familiar resemblance, as the cars do share some common DNA. The GT is smaller, lighter, and features a number of redesigned components derived from both the SLS and SLS Black series, to really hone in on the effort of creating the perfect sports car. With the GTS, AMG is diving headfirst into quite a competitive segment, keeping other well-known sports cars such as the iconic Porsche 911, Audi R8 V8, and perhaps even the Jaguar F-Type R Coupe right in the crosshairs. With that in mind, the GTS, in my eyes, is probably one of the most significant new models to come out of a Falterbach in recent years. Initially, the GTS will be the only model offered and is set to launch around the second quarter of 2015, while the lower-priced entry-level GT will launch in the following year. The GTS, as the name suggests, will be the higher-performing model, touting 503 horsepower from an all-new 4-liter bi-turbo V8 that produces 456 horsepower in the base car. When you first see the GT, you'll instantly recognize familiar SLS proportions, beginning with a long hood and pushed-back greenhouse, a short rear deck, and low stance. The GT is a little bit more of a fastback vehicle, encompassing a whole lot more cargo space out back, which we'll talk about later in the video. The main differences lie in its dimensions, where a 2-inch shorter wheelbase and a 3.6-inch shorter overall length create a notably smaller and lighter package. Competitor comparisons, especially with the 911, are inevitable. In my eyes, the GTS doesn't just compete, it brings a unique package to the table. I can't quite put my finger on it, it's a certain glimmer of excitement, whether it's the way it looks, feels, or performs. It's a car that really inspires confidence. Even though official pricing hasn't been released, AMG claims the GTS will be competitively priced with, well, its competitors, offering numerous standard features and unprecedented levels of AMG customizability. The GTS has been described as a pure sports car, and after a few laps around the track I was convinced. The GTS is the dawn of a new generation of sports cars from Mercedes-AMG. The latest Mercedes design language incorporates an elegant yet dramatic silhouette that's designed to speak to one's emotions. The GT is no exception. It trades many of the sharp-edged, brawny SLS features for smoother styling that still oozes a classic blend of dynamism and a sense of motion. Keep in mind the cars featured in this video are Euro-spec pre-production testers that could contain elements that won't transfer to US models. This includes possible color and equipment combinations as AMG explores various options, manufacturing techniques, and more. The front grille incorporates the latest 3-dimensional diamond pattern divided by a single bar, paying homage to classic Mercedes racing vehicles, finished with a subtle AMG emblem to the right. The hood carries twin power dome accents and heat extractors with curves that flow towards the grille and raised edges towards the flared fenders. Down in the lower fascia, black mesh intakes direct air to the intercoolers, brakes, and more. A lower splitter channels air under the car and out through the rear diffuser, adding extra downforce at speed. LED headlamps are standard. This tester is fitted with the Edition 1 Aero Kit, which really gives the GT a race-inspired look, especially up front thanks to a larger splitter that wraps around the intakes and winglets on the outer edges of the fascia. Otherwise, the front splitter and rear diffuser are finished in gloss black on the standard GTS. Details are still surfacing with no guarantee that we'll see a red Edition 1 like this example, but if you like the Aero Kit, I was told that it will only be available on that limited launch edition. Not only is it one of the most customizable AMG vehicles ever offered, with a seemingly endless array of options and configurations, there are actually 3 available styling packages to dress up the exterior even further. These include the Silver Chrome Pack, Night Pack, and Carbon Fiber Pack, which replaces many of the bits with high-gloss carbon fiber as shown in the yellow example featured here. Compared to the relatively flat roofline of the SLS Gullwing, the GTS with its conventional door design gains an inch in roof height. This, along with low-mounted seat frames, creates more headroom for racing helmets. Visibility around the A-pillars, like the SLS, does take some time to get used to, especially when wearing a helmet, but after a few laps this wasn't an issue for me. I can definitely appreciate the addition of the rear quarter window, which is notably lacking in the SLS. The roof itself can be had in painted aluminum, high-gloss carbon fiber, or even as a panoramic glass roof. Curb weight is estimated to be between 150 and 200 pounds lighter than the SLS. Across the rocker panels, Edition 1 cars feature aero-inspired side skirts, and a high belt line gives way to rounded door panels that are broken up by 2 distinct body features. The first being a set of fender vents that sit recessed into the body, highlighted by a continuous line that surrounds the vent before blending into the door. The sweeping curve that connects the front and rear wheel arches give the appearance of motion even when standing still. With its small yet wide package and sculpted features, the body looks quite lean and muscular. The rear glass sits slightly recessed within the steel hatch. The broad shoulders incorporate a wide set of rear tires and are perhaps my favorite features, a common characteristic between other cars in this class, but the GTS in my eyes is more elegant. The slender tail lamps look pretty cool in person and even feature sequential turn signals. Only until you get into the lower fascia do you see a bit more definition, in the otherwise tapered off tail end that also works to visually widen the car, incorporating a signature A-wing diffuser and twin exhaust outlets. On standard cars, a spoiler blends into the edge of the hatch and, depending on the drive mode, extends and retracts at various speeds, unless you spring for the Edition 1, which carries a fixed black spoiler. For the most part, the chassis including the greenhouse and body are made out of a mix of different types of aluminum alloys, including, but not limited to, cast, extruded, and forged components. All in all, the light alloy makes up more than 90% of the car's space frame and weighs just about 509 pounds. The overall structure is highly resistant to bending and flexing, which instantly translates to improved feel and precision on the track. Never for an instance did the chassis feel out of place. It's stiff but not punishing. It makes you feel connected to the road. The trunk lid is made of steel, while the radiator core support up front is made of magnesium, another rigid material that weighs even less than aluminum. The front member not only supports many other front-end components, but it reduces the inertia over the front axle, helping weight balance of 47% in front and 53% in the rear. When the entry-level GT arrives, it'll feature staggered 19-inch alloy wheels as standard equipment. 9 inches wide in the front, 11 inches wide in the rear, wrapped in two 55/35 and two 95/35 tires respectively. With the GTS, the front wheel dimensions stay the same, but the tire dimensions change to wider 265/35 units. The GTS also gains larger 20 by 11 inch wheels in the rear, wrapped in two 95/30 tires. High-performance Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 tires are also available with the Dynamics Plus package. AMG offers 6 different wheel styles and multiple finishes from polished to matte black, in addition to lightweight forged wheels such as this unique crossboat design featuring an integrated lug nut cover that gives the appearance of race-derived central locking hubs. The high-performance rubber provides an immense amount of grip in the corners. Even when taken to the limit or inducing power slides, the tires never really want to give up control without a fight. There are 3 different braking systems across the entire GT lineup. On the base GT, 14.2-inch high-performance disc brakes can be found at each corner, but when you step it on up to the GTS, you receive larger front rotors measuring 15.4 inches to cope with the increased performance demands. The larger brakes also feature signature red calipers. If you're going to take your GTS on the track, the optional carbon ceramic brakes, as shown here, provide superior fade resistance and longer service life. They even weigh less, working to reduce unsprung weight for livelier handling around tight bends. They also have incredible stopping force. The 2-piece cross-drilled ceramic discs measure 15.8 inches in front and 14.2 inches in the rear, clamped by 6-piston and single-piston yellow calipers respectively. Providing excellent handling characteristics is a fully independent double wishbone suspension. The front is essentially carried over from the SLS while the rear is bespoke to the GT. It's made entirely out of forged aluminum, including the knuckles and hub carriers, and the design is further reducing unsprung mass. Overall length is 179 inches with a width of 76.3 inches and a height of 50.7 inches, running on a 103.5-inch wheelbase. Total curb weight is estimated to be between 3,400 and 3,500 pounds.
So we'll go and pop the hood.
The GT S debuts a new front mid-mounted twin-turbocharged 4-liter V8 internally known as the M178. It's completely designed and built in-house by AMG and features a host of innovative and advanced design techniques for impressive performance and responsiveness. Like any AMG engine, it's assembled by a single technician from start to finish, with a special signature plaque affixed to the optional carbon fiber engine cover. With a dry weight of 460 pounds, AMG claims the M178 is the lightest engine in its class. It's also a fully modern power plant featuring dual overhead cams, 4 valves per cylinder, an advanced direct ignition system, forged aluminum pistons, zirconium alloy cylinder heads for better temperature control with closed deck design, and sand cast aluminum crankcase for heightened durability. Compression ratio is 10.5 to 1 with a maximum engine speed of 7,200 RPM. F1-inspired nano-slide low-friction cylinder bore surfaces are twice as hard as conventional cast iron liners but weigh even less. The way AMG designed the bi-turbo layout is probably the most fascinating part. Rather than mounting the turbos along the outer edge of the cylinder banks where the exhaust manifolds would typically reside, they're placed within the V configuration on top of the engine, leading to a layout that's opposite of conventional design. The intake and exhaust manifolds essentially trade places, which not only leads to a more compact engine design, but improved thermal management as the exhaust gases are no longer routed across the sides. Therefore, AMG was able to push the engine further back and towards the firewall for better weight distribution. The exhaust gases have a much shorter distance to travel before hitting the turbos. The advantage is immediately recognized on the track as turbo lag appears non-existent. When you hit the throttle, the engine roars and immediately launches forward with authority. Providing around 17.4 psi of boost, the GTS develops 503 horsepower at 6,250 RPM and 479 pound-feet of torque between 1,750 and 4,750 RPM. At full throttle, the flat torque curve just pulls and pulls. It never falters even at speeds greater than 100 miles an hour. The numbers translate to a preliminary 0 to 60 rating of 3.7 seconds for the GTS and a top speed of 193 miles an hour. In comparison, the entry GT will produce 456 horsepower and 443 pound-feet of torque, good for a 3.9 second 0 to 60 time and a top speed of 189 miles an hour. In order to manage the heat off those turbos and the exhaust, being that they're now on top of the engine, AMG engineered a clever air duct system that's essentially an under-the-hood scoop. Beginning at the grill, where high-pressure air is sent into the engine, there's a small vent above the radiator. When the hood is closed, air passes through this vent and through a secondary vent mounted on the hood that features a built-in pressure release flap to prevent the possible backflow of hot air. The air is then channeled within the ductwork of the hood before exiting at the rear, sending a significant amount of cool air over the turbos and down through the rear of the engine. A heat shield provides further protection from the turbos. An auxiliary cooling fan behind the radiator cools the turbos off even further when the car is stopped and no air is moving. Oil is delivered by a dry sump lubrication system, which not only works to keep the engine properly lubricated in demanding scenarios, such as high-speed cornering, it also eliminates the need for a tall oil pan, allowing the engine to be mounted 2.2 inches further deep into the chassis for a lower center of gravity. The system consists of 3 main components, including an external oil reservoir, a suction pump, and a pressure pump, which work in tandem to continually pump oil in and out of the engine, varying in both rate and pressure based on computer-controlled inputs. The GTS carries a 17.2-gallon fuel tank and requires premium gas. Official economy numbers haven't been released yet, but should come out a little closer to the car's release date. Inside, the GTS features the latest advancements in design, ergonomics, and quality. The aviation theme, a common element in all Mercedes sports cars, has been entirely rethought, creating one of the most eye-catching and functional interiors of its class. Lower seating positions, concave door panels, and a prominent center console make you feel like you're climbing into the cockpit of a fighter jet. The dash, with its 2 round air vents to either side and 4 smaller vents in the middle, further add to this feeling. Across the doors, you have your power windows, power locks, and power mirrors, including power folding function. Lower storage is down below in a small pocket. While European cars will have the option of a comfort seating setup as shown here, US cars will only be offered with the AMG Performance seats. Nappa leather is standard with the option of Nappa exclusive such as diamond quilting, and Nappa with Dynamica microfiber is shown on this GTS Edition 1. Available in a variety of colors, of course. The performance seats feature electric adjustments for upper and lower lateral support, in addition to your standard controls for 3-person memory located towards the bottom. They're a little tricky to reach, so the memory settings will definitely come in handy. I was surprised by how comfortable the seats were. They're definitely firm but supportive and really hug you in around the track. A fixed headrest up top has integrated holes for racing harnesses with an aluminum bezel. AMG tags accent the backrest. Fit and finish, as expected, is top-notch. Everything from the stitched leather panels and switchgear feels hand-tailored and solid. For that added personal touch, color accent stitching is offered, not to mention your choice of matte or high-gloss carbon fiber interior trim packages, in addition to the standard silver chrome and the all-new black diamond and silver fiberglass options. Mercedes' typical host of electronic safety features are standard equipment on the GTS. Down below, optional carbon fiber entry guards, logoed floor mats, and aluminum sport pedals. Driver and passenger side knee airbags come as standard equipment. The steering wheel is power tilt, telescoping. You have an electronic parking brake down below with your trunk release, lighting controls, and leather-wrapped dash. Next, we'll take some in-depth sound comparison shots between the exhaust valves closed and open, not to mention some track driving and more.
So let's go ahead and see how she sounds. So let's go ahead and shut her up.
Burmester Premium Surround Sound comes as standard equipment, but optional is the high-end Burmester system with 11 speakers and 1000 watts of power, denoted by all aluminum speaker grills. It's all routed through the newest generation Mercedes Comand Infotainment system, utilizing a rotary control in their center console and a new touchpad with a large 8.4-inch high-res widescreen display.
The Alcantara headliner also extends down to the A-pillars with side curtain airbags, Alcantara wrapped visors, with little vanity mirrors and illumination, hands-free Bluetooth microphones located on either side, and an auto-dimming rearview mirror. In the top stack, you have your LED interior illumination, as well as reading lamps and SOS emergency roadside assistance. In order to keep everything pretty clean and tidy in the center console, there's actually some extra controls mounted up in the headliner here. Deployable rear spoiler, turning off your parking sensors and your hazards like you saw earlier.
The touchpad is designed to make it easier to access vital features by employing the same philosophy of a smartphone or tablet, recognizing 1 or 2 finger commands, swipe gestures, zoom gestures, in addition to writing letters and characters in multiple languages. Integrated within the handrest of the central control unit, the high-gloss surface feels nice and unobtrusive. 3 buttons towards the back correspond to the back button, favorites menu, and audio quick menu. Haptic feedback is delivered when you press down to make a selection. It's even smart enough to recognize whether you're trying to input a command or simply rest your hand on it. If desired, you can still use the rotary controller to access command features by clicking forward, backward, left, and right while pressing down to make a selection. For a more in-depth look at how the command system works, feel free to check out my in-depth review of the all-new S65 AMG Coupe. It pretty much works in the exact same way, the biggest difference being the 12.3-inch screen that allows you to split-yield different displays. A direct link to that segment can be found in the annotation at the bottom of the video or in the description box below.
Another aircraft-inspired theme are the round air vents, decorated in satin silver and high-gloss black middle portion. They're very easy to adjust and have little organ stop controls here that allow you to open and close them. As we continue down the center console, this little compartment here hides 2 cup holders and an extra power outlet. Just ahead of that, you have your standard dual-zone electronic automatic climate control, with the knobs featuring a knurled finish for a little bit more of a tactile feel. Different zones, front and rear defrost, one-touch automatic, fan speed, and temperature on either side. If you hit the little menu button, it brings up some extra climate control data within the command screen that you can use the rotary wheel and control, such as air distribution, airflow, climate mode, and temperature. Continuing across the center console, all the different drive modes like I talked about earlier. Your volume power knob for the radio also has a knurled finish. You have Alcantara suede coming across the sides with accent stitching. Open it up, and you have a bit of storage, lined in velour, a 12-volt power outlet, your media input including 2 USB and an SD card input, and the ignition cylinder like I showed you earlier. As far as the steering wheel, on the right-hand side you have your radio controls, hands-free telephone and voice commands. Help.
For which functions do you want help? Change disc. Select track. Search for music. All media player functions, or voice controllable devices.
Cancel.
Cancel.
You can also turn off voice recognition via this little off button here. As far as the other controls, it all corresponds to your digital driver information system located in the TFT display in between the speedometer cluster. So, you have your trip computer, fuel data, odometer. If you hit the little home button, it goes back to the main menu. So you have navigation, radio, media, telephone, assistance features and graphic, service reminders, customizable options, and an AMG screen. Turbo boost, extra auxiliary gauges, what speed, gear you're in, and drive modes. Not to mention a lap timer. A beautifully executed vehicle. Go ahead and shut her down. Steering wheel also has an auto tilt telescoping feature. And we'll go ahead and check out the rest of the vehicle.
The GT has a significant cargo space advantage when compared to the SLS. It's pretty obvious the reason why. The SLS had a traditional trunk, while the GTS is more of a fastback style with a full integrated hatch. It's around 12.4 cubic feet or so, which is pretty good for the class in my eyes. Cargo privacy cover nicely folds away. You have cargo nets to the side for a little bit of extra security, and a strut tower brace accent behind the seats. Now this doesn't provide any extra structural integrity, but basically prevents your cargo from flying into the front under hard braking.
The passenger seat features the same power adjustments, including the adjustable thigh support that you find on the driver's seat. The glove box is locking, lined in leather on the outside and soft velour on the inside with a pretty good amount of space.
For Mercedes-AMG, the GTS is a groundbreaking vehicle, launching them into a highly competitive segment with a first-rate offering. With excellent build quality, stellar performance, and razor-sharp handling, AMG has created something special, a true driver's car that can run with the big boys and look great doing it.
Well everyone, I hope you enjoyed this in-depth look at the all-new 2016 Mercedes-AMG GT S. Be sure to stay tuned next time, there's a lot more where that came from. Take care everybody.